After Nuprez lost his only son in 1990, he embarked on a journey through philosophy, mythology, poetry, art and music, cosmos and the spiritual realm. He made this inner journey through different realms of the mind, in the company of the inner being, with whom he had been conducting dialogues since he encountered the inner being in 1966. The journey starts in the realm of the human beings, whose life is driven by the needs and necessities of survival, reproduction, and social-political competitiveness for power and wealth. To find beauty and love in life are main motives of this journey. Then the journey passes through the realm of the artists, musician, and the poets, where dream and myth form an inseparable part of reality. The experiences of this journey, in every realm which he enters, is felt as journey through suffering. In order to avoid the suffering world, he seeks escape in the realm of the philosophers. When the journey along the philosopher's path proves equally painful, he decides to make a journey in the cosmos with the hope he may find his desired world outside the earthly sphere. Here in the cosmic vista, he realizes the meaning of life and death, and returns to experience the meaning of life in love. After returning to Earth, he moves towards the mountain path, in search of an enlightened way. By making this journey, he realizes that the journey of the individual life is a part of the journey of the universal being, Tathagata, who comes and goes life after life. All who have lived before, existing now, and will appear in the future are parts of Tathagata, who appears in the world in flesh and blood. However, he has different existence beyond flesh and blood as well. In the transcendental realm he has no bodily form. He is unborn and unperceptible, whom one can experience only in the meditative state of the mind. The interactions between the life-bound insentient world and the transcendental state takes place through the meditation of the guide of the soul, who is the poet guiding the mortal beings, who is making the journey of life in flesh and blood. It is an epic, written in verse. It is a story of all of humanity, who is not confined to any particular race, culture, history, or time. It is a journey of the universal being, through a multidimensional reality, created by the projections of different realms of consciousness, which embrace human life. All individual life constitute the journey of Tathagata, who is moving in different directions in an animated world, where different realms are crisscrossing each other. Like the images reflected in multiple moving mirrors, one sees oneself as a part of Tathagata, moving through all realms of consciousness. Images of all is the true image of Tathagata. The main purpose of the book is to elucidate this concept of Tathagata, of who we are all parts. The book seeks to guide individual life to find the path where he, or she, may encounter one's transcendental nature. This is what Nuprez calls a journey towards enlightenment, where human beings may find meaning of life. Apart from the printed version, an audio version of the book with music also exists. Nuprez has himself illustrated the book. The web pages will introduce the visitors with the printed and the audio-visual books. Tathagata's Journey, a divine comedy of modern time.
The archetype of the suffering man is Odysseus, the hero of Greek mythology. After winning the war of Troy, while he sailed back towards home, taking the Queen of Troy as a trophy of the war, he got caught in bad weather, and lost direction. He wandered aimlessly over a tumultuous sea, that threw him from one island to another. After each shipwreck, when he tried to sail again, similar destiny befell him. He kept moving between the islands of the sun on one side, and the islands of the moon on the other side again and again, and was caught in the perpetual wheel, that turned day into night, and night into day, and brought life and death. During this wandering, he met the queens and the female beauties of the islands. These beauties, who were either the killing witch goddess, or the moon goddess, gave him food, shelter, and comforts of love. Whenever Odysseus felt like settling in their islands for a longer period, the destiny drew him out in the sea to seek back the way to home, and hurled him on the tumults of life. On his way he passed by the Charybdis vortices, and the howling gape of the half-female and half-hound Scylla. He kept himself bound on the mast as he sailed by the island of the half-female and half-bird sirens, who sang to attract the passing sailors. Once the sailors were lured to land on their shore, sirens devoured them. He also passed by hell, where other heroes like him were undergoing punishment. One of them was Tantalus, the astronomer who brought knowledge of heaven to the mortals. He was thrown in the suffering of perpetual thirst, while he was kept half submerged in water reaching up to the chest. Tantalus was condemned to undergoing suffering for seeking knowledge of the heavenly sphere. Like Tantalus, Sisyphus, another hero, was also thrown into punishment for his effort to deceive the gods in order to help the mortals. The most famous hero of all was Prometheus, who brought the fire of heaven to the mortal world, and taught the mortal creatures to defy heaven and take life's destiny on their own hands. Odysseus, Tantalus, Sisyphus etc. represent one aspect of human nature, which is similar to the spirit of Prometheus. They rely on human will and power to control the destiny of life, and are driven by the desire to triumph, and explore new territories and possibilities of life without feeling fear of any heavenly retribution. They are the Promethean heroes. The mortals, who possess similar spirit, are called the Promethean man in this book. The universal man possesses also another nature, which contradicts the nature of the Promethean man. He bears in him also the sensibilities of Orpheus, the Greek musician of heaven, whose music has the power to bring the non-living and dead world to life. He is the priest of Apollo, the god of arts, music, and his activities are driven by higher aspect of the mind beyond the desire of worldly wealth, power and material gratification. Orpheus is the beloved of the Muses, who inspire the artists, musicians, and poets. The Orphean man seeks activities beyond the earthly realm, and is guided by the power of creativity that transcends the ego-bound will of the Promethean man. Orpheus is the counterpart of Prometheus, heavenly inspiration versus instinct-bound mortal controlling the affairs of life. Like the male Prometheus and Orpheus, the female also belongs to two different worlds. On one side, she is the witch and enchantress, whom Odysseus met during his wandering, and on the other side she is the source of creative inspiration like the muses of Apollo. The journey of Tathagata embodies all these contradictory spheres. Tathagata himself is being guided by a superior power, who possesses knowledge of the world, as well as the unknown realms beyond the power of understanding of the mortal beings. Like a dual character, possessing a mortal self, guided by a divine being, Tathagata makes his journey through an intricate maze of conflicting desires and emotions, and tries to find his way by the help of his guide. A plethora of male characters bearing the Promethean and Orphean nature emerge from the same universal man, who has lived in the past, is living now, and will come to live in the future. Similarly, the female characters as lovers and seducers, as well as the inspiring muses appear on the stage of life, as the wandering of Tathagata begins anew. The women and men representing different parts of the same person, who appears as different individuals, and enter the stage by wearing different costumes and masks. This stage exists in the sphere of meditative consciousness, in the mind of Tathagata, who gazes at the past, the present and the future at the same time. From the mental sphere, from where he watches his own wandering through life after life, world appears as a hall of illusion, taking shape according to projections of the different levels of consciousness. The will appears while the mind projects itself in the world. What one calls nothing, becomes objectified as something by the magic touch of the will.
From the time hall of illusion, Tathagata first chooses to move along the way, which leads to the instinct-bound world, where human activities are driven by the will to live, and the will to power. In his conflict-torn village life, he seeks the hands of beauty. As he looks for comforts in instinct-bound love, and seeks pleasures in the festivity of the village life, he becomes the prisoner in the hands of the tyrant, stooped in the will to power. Then guide of the soul frees him from the instinct-bound life. After that, Tathagata chooses to move to the realm of the poets, artists, and musicians.
The guide of the soul frees the man from the village life.
When man derives his power from body's muscular source, wins victory by applying brutal force. When like a slave of pride, man uses weapons with skill, expressing cruel will. Assaults to kill, furbishing errors, clinging to the will to power makes others bleed, creating hate and greed. In foolishness, he mankind leads. Like winged ants in a journey on their way to die, swarming around burning lantern glasses that drown creatures in soot, covered with black smudges, eyes screened from the dangers lit by fiery matches when men rush to die. In great numbers, attack, assail and fly to win a victory, evil methods apply. Man releases the dreadful sprites and from the jar of Pandora receives wars and crimes as the gifts from his heavenly bride. When cruel instincts fill man from top to toe, while wealth and pleasure sense-bound desires provoke, dreadful thoughts drill in the mind darkened holes. Seeking success, brother betrays. In absolute trust to physical strength, man becomes his own victim and prey. When man flies as a hawk without heeding to reason, vaults and brags and commits treason, discharges sewage on the earth, man becomes a captive in the heart's darkened prison. As in an ancient mansion's buttress, where cracks and folds breathe danger's air, on pendant beams supporting eyrie, where birds guard the bridling in nests that cradle dangers under falcon's stare, man's life is entangled in fear's constant snare. Holding weapons in hands, when soldiers straddling horses, power's symbols bear, it is the power that they fear. Here and there, when they stalk and strut, blow trumpets and blare, they want to hide under their own crufty stairs. In the castle court, around the king of the night, when soldiers brandish swords, swish, swish, while the victor's festoons whisk, when in the mind the will to power vaults and leaps, and the desire for power in darkness creeps. Man sinks in a darkness abysmally deep. The gates with which the soldiers ride and turn are like falcons' movements that swing around life's ash and urn. More freedom they try to seize, and more they try to blaze. They produce more ashes, smoke and haze. Greater they hail the power of hell, smaller they become in life's beautiful tale. Beating on drums, hitting taut membranes that all veins strum. When soldiers show military skills in festive charm, a blast of wind puffs as a gale, where the heathen world's tyrants set their sails. In the nether world of flame, man becomes choked by the dunnest smoke of hell, in blood treacherous and cold. When joys wave and move on festoons' triumphant folds, thus victor's pride upholds. Power its contradictions unfolds. Firm on purpose, daggers unsheathed for a duel, showing brevity when man encounters man heartlessly cruel, life becomes an arena of beasts, though unavoidably real. Behind horses' dishevelled hair, when in proud mien man straddles solitude's air, in dark horses' strides, when night beguiles and creates evil drives, when under the blanket of darkness stars radiate instant flares, man juggles with fire as life's daredevil player. As trumpets blare, the evil mind to night its allegiance declares, under starbeams cheer when man drags man naked and bare. throwing the vanquished in hellish flare. Man brings himself to deadly portals near. I free you from this mortal gate. Move higher towards the mountain landscape, where beauty will meet you as the divine maid.
Cry of the Promethean man.
O fiery sun, when you set behind woods and fields, and the curling clouds hanging over mountains and plains, leaving in the heart twilight's burning spell, why do you abandon the mortal after spreading over the earth a magical veil? Before sinking in the cavernous night, while hills and valleys fill the earth with the beauty of light, over the mortal sphere, while a curtain is drawn, the day illumined by the sun leaves life's cruel verdicts. O mighty sun, whose power this world commands, I feel bound in a sorcery. How shall I break open from the captivity that from the mortals cruel sacrifices demands? With nightly hours fall, I hear ghostly shadows call. My mind feels riven. In knowledge and reason, powered by the sun, I am tormented and torn. In doubts I feel tattered. In beliefs I feel battered. Why do you leave the mortal who wanted to rise to heaven where stars are born, to undergo such suffering and crown him with a bloodful wreath of thorns? While over the head the cosmic lights sail, O mighty power, who endlessly feeds life with things that move or rest, pains twist around the body under starlit night's loveliest haze. In blood, where senses clash, in the prison of the earth, the mortal fulgurates in rage in a surreal haze. O mighty power governing the fate of the days, as you leave, the wakeful world sinks in a darkened bay. With the falling darkness of the night, cascading sorrows stoop in the heart, spilling suffering in the bleeding sight. While in a sadness sinks this mortal soul, the nightly sky shows its gallant show. In night's darkest tomb, where fears plunge and comb, in peaceful moon's gentle bloom, veiled in silvery bloom, while in pasture's mist that sleeps on meadow as light silken beast, where stars awake the grass, I hear the evil serpents hush. In bitter pain, in wound and blood, despairs crawl and tears rush. Blood trickles while tears run, the hissing wind flying as splinters of blades cut the flesh. As night's torments haul, break, twist and turn, shatter thoughts in wind and scatter them in the mind's urn. In feeling's violent churn, I am a captive like Prometheus who was enchained by Vulcan's arms. Every attempt to liberate myself inflicts pain. They bind me more in suffering's chain. In shreds of tears, where the oozing bloods tremble and flare, in skeletons' holes bright and clear, where vision glides far and near, I experience accursed Prometheus's misery and pain, who is perpetually condemned to scuffle for freedom in vain.
Forest Path is the realm of poets, artists and musicians. Here beauty appears as nymphs and muses, and Tathagata dreams to win the love of the moon goddess. In this Orphean realm, where the boundaries among dream, myth and reality are diffused, the wanderer is drawn towards the unconscious realm of the mind, where the power of reason and rationality is obfuscated. Though he seeks love and beauty beyond the realm of the senses, and aspires to win the love of the muses instead, the instinct creeps up in the body, and entangles him in a net laid by destiny. The desire to experience love and beauty lying beyond the physical boundary receives a tragic end. In the dark realm of the forest he comes physically close to the beauty. Being afraid of the hunter, the beauty blinds the dreaming man. With this dramatic event, the beauty seeking the godly love of Orpheus is spotted by the hunter, who possesses the desires and the urges of instinctual nature. He appears as a shadowy powers of the unconscious mind. Then the beauty is ravished by the hunter. The physical blindness opens the inner vision of the poetic man. In this inner realm, Apollo radiates the beauty that can be seen with the intellectual power of the mind. Here beauty reveals herself in colors, forms and sounds that can only be perceived by the artist, the musicians and the poets. By using the power of the intellect, which can shape the diffused unconscious experiences into objective forms, he sees the realm of beauty, which cannot be experienced by the physical power of the eyes. In the end, the guide of the soul brings him out of the forest path. In this realm the real and the dream worlds appear united as one.
Forest Path. As poet, artist and musician, the dreaming man in search of love and beauty.
In search of love and beauty lying beyond the realm of the senses, which has caused his bondage and suffering in the village life, the journeyman sails towards the realm where musicians, poets, and artists pursue their creative life. In this sphere, while Eros drags the mind towards a lighted lake, where muses and nymphs bathe, the boundaries between reality, myth, and dream obliterate.
Real and unreal united in the forest.
Scanning the east with a dazzling light as the sun rises towards the sky-born height, after a night-long vigil, the dews storing heavenly delight, carrying the coolness of the night, drop in the bosom of the earth that streams in a heavenly light. In deep foliage, where the hanging, trembling pearls dwindle as the morning wakes, gliding along the petals and the blades, the morning hour in a twinkling, glittering maze with the magic power of light on the droplets' blaze. As dewdrops in joyous luster splash on the radiant waves, in the verdant grass the watery trails steam down on a dreamlike face in an endless space, drenched in moisture, where entwined vines share the shadows of oaks and pines. The shades shelter the stillness on the dewdrops' ephemeral shines, breathing a scented balm in a refreshing calm, spreading the sun-ray hair, wearing glittering pearls in the years where the sunbeams, streaking in space in different layers, deepen the deafness of twigs and weeds, trying to listen to the notes of life in the depth of the air. On hard rocks where shadows stun the motion of the sun, the trees, sprawling the branches in the sunbeams plunge. Teeming in a haze, in a glittering maze, where the dew light's magic conjures, floating free in a tangled mesh, where the radiant waves crisscross and flight in the sky's space. The loveliest leaves filter the rays from the sky azure. In a collage of streaks of lights and shades, the morning designs a jewel of matchless beauty, viridescent and pure. In the unadorned stresses, where the circumambient air in joyous feelings shuffle the rays in the impassive air. The deep foliage dried the moisture fluttering on leaves in a glittering, sparkling maze trapped in the dewdrop's snare. The sun dazzles the eyes and throws the mind in a lake of light, glittering with star-strewn flare. Drifting away from rocks' roots, where the shadows ensnare the light, with the curling branches sprawling hair. In the filtered sunbeam drifts the morning sun, in the current of the mind, as it through the woodland stares. After the night's vigil, as the eyes and shapes of things plunge in the light's murmuring tide, swimming suriri of bees and butterflies, of light in the eyelids, the light's cackling guide. In the flimsy flickers of the blazing droplets, vibrating inside the twinkling lights, bursting forth and then returning to hide in the drops oscillating in the waves in flight. The moments of time synchronize the pulsating beats of life. With the dropping, oozing droplets store in the breast of the earth a heavenly delight. As in a watery glass where swimming waves scurry along the brim to catch flying sparks that glint in crystals scintillating in a hurry. Before winking eyelids bury ephemeral images doomed to destruction in mind's frenzy and fury. The dazzling sun dipping down to the depth, where the drops of water carry from the void the filaments of rays from the surface to the base, floating free in the daylight maze. Bury the restless moments of time in the depth of concave shape, where things precipitate to escape motion and drudgery of weight. In the deep foliage, where amidst branches and twigs the penetrating lights weave a basket with the curving tendrils, turns and twists, cull the blazing drops in the sun-filled air, dividing the shadows from the dreamlike beauty's lucent hair. As bees and butterflies dive and swim in the eye's dewdrop flares, the flirting moments fly in the light and shadow with the feelings of vacuous weightlessness share. In the bottom of the concave sky, where the vines the tree stems tie, the stones and rocks and leaf beds lie, the sun rays penetrating the vacuous layers crisscross the restless motions of time in the dust, streams streaking the air with the morning beauty's burning hair. I feel the presence of a tranquil soul moving near, where the blazing sun fills the verdant ferns, in climbing shining arms trellises the creepers spiraling around the trunks, freeing the butterflies from the cocoon of the mind, the eyes skyward turn. With blue winged sky arch span, in a swimming, glimmering, twinkling, flickering stream of light in flight from the boundaries of space and time, a light soul glittering in water, air, and rays uniting the body and mind, moves in front while a shadow follows me behind. In the depth of the void, in a rising glittering sea, from where the eyes the rays receive, in the innermost colors, in the ocelli, irises flip wings of rainbows, perching on the eyelashes, receiving the starbeams' blips, in a twinkling cluster of the radiant glints, in a maze of flying sparkling wings, a formless soul moves, creating waves and rings as birdlings hop. The trembling dewdrops splash, creating flamboyant designs of dots on the fungi and the moss, where sunbeams flip and flop. The dripping motions of light trickle as sobs on the wet silvery rocks. In transient shocks of the falling dews, the wings free the air that rustles from stalks to stalks. As the shape of things in nothing, time's boundary cross, the light disintegrates in fragments in bits of shadows, as if the twigs and the branches, the lights and the shadows innumerable butterflies toss. In restless gleams, in ripples and rings, where in a lake of light wind sprays foams of the dark, resting upon the heart, where in an eternity, in a nothing, the eyes the sky engulfs, in silence the stones, sensing the trilling trickles of the water, the moments surpass, pass through hearing, smell, vision, and touch. The calm air holds on to stillness, its momentary grasp. The stars shine and laugh. The fragrant blooms guard the sense in porous holes, open and shut, in light and darkness in nature's honeycombed heart, as the beams of the stars slip a mystery in woodland covered in dew-worn dark, in leaves and shades, where darkness cuts light with leaves' dew-strewn blades, while the sky pours the joy and happiness of rays like quivering butterflies in sight. The feelings of joy flight in the light, from the real night to unreal ethereal height.
After leaving the forest path, he arrives at the meadow of death, where the beauty, who after being ravished by the hunter, has taken her life, and is burning in a pyre. Here he meets the souls of the philosophers, among others, Neoplatonist, Hegelian, Stoic, Schopenhauer, Nietzsche, Krishna of Bhagavad Gita. They expound their philosophies about the meaning of life and death, on how one may overcome the suffering in the world, and pursue meaningful paths to act and live. When these philosophical views fail to console him, and show him the path that will bring happiness and peace, which he searches, the guide of the soul brings him to the party of the philosophers. These philosophers have found ways to happiness. Here Epicureans, blasphemers, cynics, hypocrites sing about the meaninglessness of philosophical search, and profess the paths of happiness in sexual indulgence, eating, drinking, dancing, and merrymaking, without caring for meaning and moral. He realizes that his suffering will not end in this realm, and wishes to explore the cosmic sphere to find an enlightened way instead.
The Song of the Second Blasphemer.
When a man drinks beer, whiskey and wine, oh, what a merry time. In this merry world, I give God a damn. Same applies to his son and the lamb. Oh heart, my heart, Lucifer's bird, take the bottles and pour it into the bottomless pit of the heart. His mother is a Jew, and father is a dove-like bird. What more nonsense can be heard? If anything I think is true and divine, live in this flesh that enjoys the bottle of wine. I need no transfiguration of wine into blood to enact the saving of man from suffering and pain. What enters as wine and pleasure, I want it to come out as water, and pleasure of pissing again. O mortal world, hear from me the sacrament's truth. The excrement of Satan had fertilized the paradise's fruit. The bread is only transfigured to flesh by massacres of crusaders. That story is horrifyingly tragic. There is no other divine magic. Hey ho, the life is wine and meat. Whoever says else is a misanthrope and a cheat. It is more worth listening about potato and plum than hearing about Mary's child, that worthless bum. If anyone will be coming before the world comes to its doom, it is the human spirit rising from its tomb. Oh, diddle, diddle, dwaddle, daddle, doom, this drinking and pleasures are all philosophies, summum bonum, and ultimate wisdom's summa summarum, epicure de greg procus, which means the swine from the herd of Epicure. Dum vivmus vivamus, Dominus vobiscum. Why live and let Lord be with you. Trinks du für den Durst. Pray for sin and fall according to one's gout. Vow to your soul the worldly virtue. Sing about the world solid and true. Eco homo. Throw dice and live according to exigencies and truth. Make merry, eat, drink, and do not live like a fool. Let the lamb eat grass and the serpent dust, but you eat whatever pleases your lust. Thus I live while my mind is sunk in blood and water. I have crossed a great length of distance by carrying my physical weight. Like Lucifer's destiny when the night my destiny relates. Oh, dwiddle, dwaddle, diddle, daddle, feet walking over the blue. This pleasure of drinking that I know as life's greatest virtue is the only aspect of existence that comes true. Now the time is ripe for my soul to go to heaven and occupy the seat from where the Son of God watches over the world from his sphere beyond the circle's seventh. Amen, amen, vapors fuming and spouting, the angels doubting. I am mounting, all suffering surmounting.
While rising towards the heavenly sphere, man discovers two contradictory paths. One lies in the realm of the scientific knowledge, and the other follows the religious belief of the people. Similarly, the cosmic beauty manifests in two contradictory realms, lying beyond the senses. On one side, the beauty emerges through mathematical relations and cosmic laws, while on the other side, it manifests as the cosmic mother and the divine bride of God, as conceived by the theologians and religious visionaries. The guide of the soul lifts him to heaven through the hallucinatory paradise, as seen by the pilgrim in Dante's Divine Comedy, and imparts on him the scientific eyes to explore the cosmos. In this realm too, the cycle of birth, death and rebirth continues. While the dance of death and birth perpetually renews every existence, all are inseparably entangled together in complex networks of structures, which are beyond comprehension of the human knowledge. This network, which has formed an infinitely vast labyrinth, has no beginning or end. Here death is an inseparable aspect of life. Without the existence of the one, the other won't exist. In this labyrinth, there exists no way out, or no way in. He realizes the meaninglessness of the human striving to escape the wheel of death and birth, and achieve immortality. Thus being freed from the ignorance caused by insufficient knowledge of the cosmic mystery, he realizes the path of love and compassion as the highest path to pursue. In the universe, all exist as parts of the great existence, which images itself in the same way in all. Gaining understanding that the universe exists because all should exist in harmony as a whole, where the power of life and death manifests as the foundation of existence of all, he experiences the presence of the energy that are embodied in all beings. This cosmic energy is the source of compassion and love. It is a purposeful act of the One, who reveals in all beings the urges to fulfill the meaning of existence, by living harmoniously as parts of all. After receiving this enlightenment, he returns to the modern life on earth.
Music being played in the background catches his ears. He hears the music of the Platonic spheres. The journeyman muses about mathematics and music.
In the turning spindle of necessity, from where the shafts of light revolve in the rainbow, in the whirling whirls where the endless wheels carry the world through the octaves of notes, the cycles are interposed as before and after, where forms, patterns, speech coexist, precede and follow after. As timeless aspect of time, I hear the music that is not conscious of time. Like the siren songs from the rims of the Platonic wheels which encompass the sphere with music of light, where the spindle of necessity turns the rainbow in the sight, in vibrant air, I hear the waves appearing as the hidden world's beautiful flares. I hear the chromatic scales, the major, the minor, the dominant, the subdominant, the fourth, the fifth, the triads, the harmony of the patterns, movements derived from geometry itself, producing mathematical relations determined by internal symmetry of shapes. Where space reflects the property of the spirit, explicitly defined and unchanged. The phi, the pi, the Fibonacci series, the numbers of the divine harmony, the eurythmy governed by such undefined numbers, play the music beyond time. As the transcendent light from a supreme mind like Plato's Timaeus, where in the nested spheres, cut away in sections and rings, the universe plays the harmony on celestial strings, where Demiurge has composed the music, assigning to the planets and the stars their motions. The principles of harmony are above all equations. I hear the music of the stars, the planets, the cosmos, neither at rest nor in movement, neither in ascent nor in descent, moving always, following transcendental curves and bends. As the music rises to a higher pitch, I hear the deepest tone from the lunar sphere. The stars with the swiftest speed play the keys of the highest tones. What Pythagoras, Plato and Cicero had called spheres of celestial bliss, vibrating between man and eternity, though octave sounds do not comply with the scientific reality, I hear in them the rhythms that the universe's perfection reflect, and feel the coexistence of violin, viola, contrabass, flutes, horns, drums, in the pattern of waves, my mind being engulfed in an eternal blaze. The time that is past and the time that is future, that in turn the eternal present contains, when compounded with the motions in chains, create the harmony that is perfect in shape. Transmit vibrations that are mathematically perfect and tuned to the light moving on the hypersurfaces in higher space. From the crystal sphere that has many more dimensions than what man perceives in the earthbound state, I hear the melodies of eternity, the polyphonic chants, the tones in unison with the whirling world in flames. In the interstellar space, where the vibrations and the rhythms fill the darkness, the strings in tension break into different components. The movements in the mind carry harmony in the consciousness. The musician of the souls tunes the inner chords beyond the rules of science. From the cosmic mystery, where the proper motions are attuned to the music of time and space, reflecting the reason, the mysterium cosmographicum, in numbers, magnitudes and shapes, the amazing order of the universe arises in the mind without sounds and waves. Thus the mind hears music without any pressure in the air. Listen to the polyphony of the past, the present and the future, far and near, vibrating at points in space and moments in time as proportions, order, symmetry, geometry, connectivity, continuity, dimensionality and topology, as music of astronomy, astrophysics and cosmology, the harmony of the spheres as mathematically ideal, but not expressible by intervals of harmonic scheme of chromatic order, reverberate through the cosmos as a symphony of the eternal accorder. The perihelia and the aphelia of the planetary revolutions, the complex motions of the trajectories in evolution, the arcs traversed in time, the surfaces panned and the work done, draw in thrilling precision the perfection of the music emanating from the sun. Geometry of non-Riemannian kind, or pre-geometry without differential forms, non-descriptive, undefined with coordinate and measure, non-physical in relation to the possibility of visual openness and closure, discovered as pure subjectivity, formed through logical compatibility, hypnotize the mind with rhythms emerging from eternity. The consonance and dissonance of the Pythagorean kind, in the octave scheme that the Greeks have defined, are the expressions of the pure thoughts reconciled in the domain of space and time. Though, according to the Euclidean scheme, the planets do not revolve, the orbits do not attune with the Pythagorean forms, the music of the ratios, the notes of velocities fall in harmony and symmetry, where time is entwined on the surfaces of the topological forms. Keeping time in association with space, while space is time, and time is enwrapped in space, in wrinkles, rolls and waves, the music of heaven rises as mind's cosmic blaze. In the music that I hear, I recognize the vibrations from stars in the forms of the moving spheres which contain the orbits moving round the globe. I can distinguish the different notes from the strings producing the harmony of the whole. O guide, I wish to rise to the domain from where Apollo creates such beauty of the mind from his golden robe. Bring me to the path where the cosmos unfolds.
After circling around HL, as envisioned in Dante's Divine Comedy, he returns to Earth, and enters in a modern city, where man has amassed weapons of immense destructive power, in order to free the city dwellers from the fears of the heavenly gods. Here he meets women and men, worshipping the devil and his followers, and sees the Superman, possessing scientific knowledge behind the working of the nature, rising to tear down heaven, and free human beings from the hallucinatory worlds created by religions. It is a city drowned in technological innovations, where people wander in virtual spheres. They have created a city, which resembles more like the city of Maya, or illusion, where people communicate with each other at vast distances, and fulfill their needs of love and pleasure, by using technological means. In the marketplace of this city, a hermit, who has wandered alone in the mountain landscapes in search of the enlightened path, addresses a crowd, who do not believe in any spiritual man higher than themselves. Instead, they believe in a mechanical world that runs following natural laws and chance, where competitions and liberty to act, according to one's free will, are higher than anything else. When the hermit talks about his encounter with God, and passes the messages, which he has brought from the divine realm, the crowd bear no faith in what he says. Believing that the hermit, who calls himself as the bearer of the wisdom of the ultimate man, is an insane person, the crowd chase him away from the city.
From there he comes to the marketplace, a city in pain, a labyrinth of damnation.
Here Beelzebub, like puppets in his hands, makes man dance. In old times on Candlemas Day, Roodmas Day, Lammas Day, and the eve of the All Hallows, people used to celebrate in this city the festival of the witches in the presence of the Prince of the Dark, who their powers enhanced. By kissing devil's reverse face under animal's tail, the promiscuous orgies that increased the fertility of the hunters and herdsmen, the devotees copulated with artificial phallus to enact the black magic that even gripped virgins and nuns. In the same place, there are swelling numbers of brothels, appalling walls covered with nudity of advertisements, lightning flashes of the cafes, nightclubs and taverns, the glaring strip shows with music and dance, the whirling hurries of the poultry, loves, apathy, sleep and copulation. Like powerful mechanical engines, prolonged exhaustion, wound, nausea and dereliction. Like phantoms flying in the alleyways, there are relations between the consumer and consumed. Heart's remorse, disgust and incessant fumes. Inside the city gate, wandering in slow-moving shapes and gentleness, in front of the banks, arcades, staircases, or inside revolving doors, twisting passageways winding through the shops, where there are dark caves, where sellers stand upright or sit cross-legged, smiling faces please customers, ladies hold between colored lips their metaphysical warmth, and circumambulate difficulties of selling products by using physical charms. When the shadows wander by, through the doorways, in solitary suffering, the citizens of this metropolis gaze at the window panes. Without needing to know who pass by, like a number in statistics of the millions, everyone enters and exits the city many times before they leave and die. In this city in pain, vehicles, garages, coffins mingling with the movements of the organs breathing and activating hunger, thirst, despair and disdain. From streets to streets, in boulevards and avenues, amidst bustling rush, carry shoppers, merchants and goods. With indifference transfer furniture, warehouse loads, as well as men and women with happy or unhappy moods. Constantly changing the images rolling through the city in the labyrinthine maze.
Journeys wearing innumerable different masks. These characters have no name. They participate in the eternal play, traveling, wandering, going to and coming from the mountain hermitage, or village homes as laymen or monks. Searching immortality across the world, they burn in the fire in search of the limitless light. Leaving behind the untrue body, fly with the angels in the celestial night. The causes of suffering are the very dialectics of the body and spirit that no one can escape.
But frost, ripples, wind, snow and ice are constantly wandering in the innumerable cracks and folds, taking advantage over others, quarrying the rocks, making the plains slide and shift following the basic mechanical laws, where the casual links are breaking and branching off like a celestial potter's wheel. Realizing the numinous patterns, it branches off to create an ordered design that appears as the pattern of an eternal chaos, splitting something up into something else.
No one, with no name, but still he is the one without form, unveiled in multitude forms. Where physical forms vanish, he rises. Where flowers tremble in the eyebrows as beauty's flames. Quake not in the tremble of suffering. Let yourself be purified through the awakening enlightenment of senses' pain. Rejoice not in the brightness of the beam that illumines nothing but an illusion and dream. in the color of gold, where the sun illumines the shores and attends with omen of death every birth. Do not fill your eyes with the shining spectre of dust. Know that through this forest path pass many other paths. Many other worlds are intertwined in this chiaroscuro of light and dark. Various realms in different depths move upward and downward, following the human mind's illusion, desire, and come to the conclusion that I have left for the mountains, leaving the wanderers in the marketplace. At the end, they followed the man who emerged from me to the sacrifice in the village, and I followed him towards the illumined way. You may be curious to know, what did I see on the mountain? As I said, I did not go alone. As I woke from the sleep, I saw in front of me a glaring light in the mirror, whom I could easily recognize as the divine poet, who was the guiding light in the forest, where I was following him as a shadow. I had followed him as the dual, united as one, moving through the labyrinthine web. He had told me that I was the ultimate man, born from the sea, destined to move to the mountain way. I must climb higher to the mountain top to merge fully with him and ascend the stairs of rainbows before I would be able to visualize his full splendor as the light of illumination